the Everton family enjoys special bonds. As in all enduring and healthy faiths, the elders share eyewitness accounts of historical events to younger generations. In this series, we'll hear stories of Everton FC in the 1960s, from an Evertonian who's been at the heart of it all, stories of a decade punctuated by 2 First Division titles and an FA Cup. Dr. David France is a 5th generation Evertonian. Born in Widnes, the now 78-year-old has spent the last 49 years living in North America and has travelled over 2 million miles to attend Everton games and introduce his Everton initiatives. David is the founder and driving force behind the Gwladys Streets Hall of Fame since 1996. He's written 19 Everton books since 1997. There's the Everton Former Players Foundation since 1999, Everton FC Heritage Society since 2008, Everton War Memorials since 2011, and of course, the world-famous Everton Collection. On behalf of the Everton FC Heritage Society, members Lewis Royden and Sarah DeBow visited the Dixie Dean Hotel in Liverpool to talk to another special blue, to provide a season-by-season review from 1959 to 1970. We pick up the story in episode 4, covering 1964 to 66, as Goodison Park gears up for the World Cup. 1964-65, which coincided with the introduction of the miniskirt. You had just simple geometric shapes and bold colours, whereas the Vietnam War was escalated to the music of the Beatles once again in a new generation, the Rolling Stones, the Animals and the Kinks. But in the UK, football supporters could watch their teams on Match of the Day now.
Welcome to Match of the Day, the first of a weekly series coming to you every Saturday on BBC Two. As you can hear, we're in Beetleville for this Liverpool versus Arsenal match.
And as for Evertonians, the club finished 4th, thanks to the firepower of Fred Pickering, who bagged 37 goals that season.
Unbelievable.
37.
Wow.
And people don't know his name. 37. Well, Gary Lineker makes a living out of the game and he only got 30.
Exactly. Yeah, good point. Good point. Speaking of Match of the Day, he's made a career out of that.
Out of it. But what can I say about this, about myself? I'd got my paper round. I'd had a fleeting encounter with employment at Garston British Railway maintenance sheds. And I didn't fit in there, so I went back to my paper round. And eventually I got an apprenticeship at the gas board as a gas fitter. Wasn't very good, but my timing was brilliant. I just discovered North Sea gas.
Oh, right.
So which was incompatible with town gas, which was made from coal. So they were going to go through a revolution, and there I was, the just
industry's blowing up
that time. I got my first wages, apprenticeship wages, and I wasted it on being a mod. So I bought my cheap suit from Burton's, and my dad used to say, well, he used to call me daft lad, He said, you're a sight for sore eyes. Stay to you in this. And I made it even worse just to upset him. I bought a scooter, a Lambretta scooter.
Oh, how very iconic.
All these mirrors on it. My dad said they were all placed so I could look at myself in all these mirrors.
Yeah. I hope there's some photographs of that, David. I'd like to see that.
I'm not sure. We'll see how this goes.
I'll dig deeper on that later.
Yeah, I was hitchhiking to the games back then, and one of the things that when it come to the team, we bought Ray Wilson, who was a veteran, but I'm going to say this, and Ashley Cole may disagree, but he was the best fullback I think England has ever had. Quality player, way ahead of his time, skillful, He'd languished in the second division with Huddersfield Town. And when he came to Everton, he still had a part-time job. His father had a business, and they were morticians. He was an undertaker. And Ray would work for Everton on a Saturday, keeping the defence ticking over. And then on the Sunday, he would embalm bodies. Wow. And he used to say, you know, I was a decent footballer, I was a bloody awful embalmer.
Pick the right career.
I say about Ray, he was elegant. He used to nickname, obviously, the Undertaker. They called him. There was a group, a Liverpool group called the Undertakers. Ask your dad, he'll know about that. Quick feet, intelligent. Quality football, and a gentleman. Roy Vernon had left then. You know, we got rid of Roy. Tony Kay had disappeared, and then we had a new captain at that time, which was Brian LeBon. And we also introduced some youngsters, which was Tommy Wright. Such an underrated person. You know, Colin Harvey, Tommy Wright, they deserve to be, they should be spoken of with the greatest Evertonians. Tommy was a warrior, hard warrior, fast. George Best told me one time when I interviewed him for Alex Young, for the Holy Trinity book, George Best told me that it was his least favourite opponent. Really? You know, he could dribble past him, but then all of a sudden Tommy would show up again. He was that fast. Wow. His recovery was that fast. Wow. Brilliant. So, you know, it really nickled him. You know, that he had to do it all again. Formidable tackler. Great one club man. Yeah. He only ever played for Everton. Great lad. And the other one I've got here is Jimmy Husband. Called him Skippy.
Skippy, I've not heard that one.
Super quick, unorthodox. No one knew what Jimmy was going to do. He played with Joe Ryle, and no one knew. Even Jimmy didn't know what he was going to do. You know, he used to say, I wasn't the most skillful player, but I was fast enough to catch up the ball.
That's what you need sometimes.
Great lad. His career was devastated by a tackle by a great footballer, a very unfortunate incident, Dave Mackay. He hit Goodison. He hit him hard with a terrible tackle. And Jimmy was never the same after. Jimmy doesn't necessarily admit to that, but he lost his confidence. He was nowhere near as unorthodox, flamboyant a player as that.
So a word for Ray Wilson, then he'd come in that year. Was he really as great as the tales say you were?
It was. I don't think in reality Everton have had that many world-class footballers. If you look back, of course, there's Dixie Dean, there's Tommy Lawton, there was ones before that. Alan Ball, maybe. Ray Wilson was world class. He was the best that there was at his time in his position. But he was a lovely man. Quiet, softly spoken, a bit like me, softly mumbled a lot, a bit like me. And he grabbed people's attention in that when Ray spoke, people listened to him. And I had the honour of accompanying Ray and Alex Young at a book signing. It was Alex Young's biography. And Alex, after he'd signed a couple of 100 books, wanted to take a break. And he asked me, with Ray, joined him, do you think we can have a walk around the pitch at Goodison? It was in the Alex Young suite. Goodison. So I said, I'm sure they will do, you know, two icons here. So we got out and we go through the tunnel, and, you know, like daft lads, we sing Z cars as we come up the tunnel. And we go to the left. We go clockwise, and we go towards Gwladys Street. And, you know, some footballers, they can tell you every goal they scored. Alan Ball could tell you. If he scored a goal at Sheffield United, he'll tell you in great detail. Others can't remember them at all. Well, on this occasion, Ray asked Alex about the goal he scored against Tottenham that we mentioned earlier, the 1-0 win when the title decider. So we get to that part of the pitch where Roy Vernon was when he sent us the ball, and Alex goes through telling him, as I mentioned before, how he knew he'd get nudged by the centre half and how he protected it. And, you know, when they talk about it, they move the bodies and they head the ball and they relive the whole thing. It's fascinating. You're honoured to be in the company of these people, and you're honoured. I mean, footballers talk football, and we as spectators, we have no idea what football's about, in all honesty, because they talk a different language. They have a different understanding of the game completely to what we do. We have a different appreciation of the game as spectators, about the passion and what it means to be an Evertonian, but they talk a different language.
And so surely there was some great games that year as well. You beat Liverpool 4-0, I believe.
Yeah, I remember that well. I went into the Anfield boys' pen. I was 16, but I was the only one without a beard. all these bearded copites all climbing up the cage trying to get out. As if it was something reminiscent of Chester Zoo or something. You've got all these people trying. I think they all got in and they climbed over into the cop.
Right.
That was their plan. We stayed there, and we had a weekend side. We put out the weekend side. We beat them 4-0. Derek scored in the first minute. And they never had a look in. It was one of those, can't believe it, beat Liverpool 4-0 at Anfield. It was a great game. It was a great year of adventure because I was, as I mentioned before, my parents trusted me. I was considered the wanderer. When we lived in the council estate, I think that the mothers of my friends warned me not to play with him. I was the kid that the mothers warned you not to play with.
Yeah.
Because not that I was bad behaved, but I wandered. No, I was trusted to go anywhere. So I had my paper round on this attempt, and two of my friends had mentioned that they were going to see Everton play at St Andrews, Birmingham City. And it was in November. And they said, "You're going to come with us. We're going to camp out on the way down." Well, I've got my paper round, it was my income level. So I said, no, I'm not sure about this. They had proper bikes. I had a paper boy's bike. Right? They were going to travel down, bike it down there. So they tracked me down after school. And it was my last year at school. They tracked me down. And they interrupted me delivering my newspapers. I had one to go. And it was a mile away. I mean, who in the right mind buys papers from a newsagent that's several miles away from your house? So I decided go. So I'll go home, and as I said, my parents were really strict, but they were really trusting. And I left a message from my mum: "Gone to the match on my bike. By the way, I've taken a tin of pilchards with me because I had to provide something to eat." And they picked the pilchards because they used to have a key that you could open the tin with, like sardines.
Yeah, didn't have to take your tin opener with you either. So I'm on my bike and off we go. Got my sleeping bag. Everywhere I had a sleeping bag. And we cycled down the A roads to Birmingham. We got as far as Walsall. That's amazing.
And I mean, they had bags with gears. I had paper boys' bags.
Yeah.
I was tired out. So we stopped, and the intention was that we were going to camp, but we just found a bus shelter with 3 sides and the benches in it. So we decided this is where we're going to stay. So we get our camp, our sleeping bags out, and we're going to snuggle up. It's like 11 o'clock at night. It's quiet, and we decided we had a flask of tea or something and some drink, and we started making our sandwiches. Well, unfortunately, one lad brought white bread, one lad brought, I remember, Nestle's milk, this thick milk. I certainly don't remember that now. It's something that only people who had ration books know about. This thick milk that was the equivalent of like mayonnaise or butter, and the pilchards. Now, the pilchards back then, they didn't have the heads, but they had the tails. So we were eating our sandwiches here with the tails of the pilchards hanging out, and who should show up but the police? And obviously, by seeing these 3 young lads eating these disgusting sandwiches, they felt sorry for us, and they asked us what we were doing, and they couldn't believe it. You 3 crazy Evertonians. And they said, "Just wait here, don't go anywhere, stay flow, we'll look after you." So they go back to the police station, and they come back with 1 flask of Bovril and 1 flask of coffee.
Wow. To
look after us. And they sat talking to us to make sure we were okay. And they said, "You've got to get out here at 6 o'clock. Because people would be going to work."
Of course,
people work 5.5 days. You got out after here. And they came again, with another tea, I think it was, another flask of that to give us that before we set off.
Great.
Brilliant.
We got to Birmingham. We won 5-3. I think we slept through the last couple of days.
Great story.
That's a fantastic story, though, isn't it? They could have given you a lift, like.
Yeah.
That would have been very kind.
Yeah.
They were very, very kind and very protective.
Yeah.
You know, they really were. We got halfway back. We got to Stone, just outside of Stoke on the way back, and we got a lift off a scrap wagon because we've got all our blue outfits on. We got a lift off a scrap wagon who was going to Bootle. So we got our bikes in the back and whatever, and we got in there. So I got home that night. Now, you'd have thought, you've got your son, he's gone on his bike all the way to Birmingham. You'd have thought I'd have got a great reception. Oh, no. I took a tin of pilchards without permission.
Oh, no.
So I got murder off my mum, you know. Not as bad as the next day when I go into the newsagents to do my Sunday round, because I still haven't delivered the paper from the night before.
Oh, no.
So it was the first time of a few times in my life when I was told that my service was no longer required.
Oh, dear.
It's worth it, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely worth it for
another
5-3.
one that year, that's that story. Another one that year was the Battle of Goodison, everybody knows about.
Famous, yeah.
It was, we were as bad as Leeds. It was a disgrace to football, a disgrace to Leeds United, who were a good team, a disgrace to Everton, who were a top-class team. And it all kicked off in 2 or 3 minutes. Sandy Brown flattened Jimmy Dowse. He left his stud marks, ripped his shirt on his chest, and Sandy flattened him. There was no subtlety in it all. He knew what he was doing.
Why do you think that happened? Do you think Everton just rose to the bait? Or
I think so. I mean, Leeds were known as dirty Leeds even back then, and we'd played them in the Cup the year before. We played them a couple of seasons in the Cup, and they'd both gone to replays, and they were I call them industrial games. They were tense, very combative games, so there may have been something leaving over from that.
Yeah.
But when I say that the place exploded, you never seen such hostility in the crowd. It was like, we talk about Everton being a pit of their burr pit. This was nasty.
Really?
And after 35 minutes, Willie Bell, who was the guy who scored the full-back from Leeds, he scored the winner. He flattened Derek Temple, and we took Derek off on a stretcher.
Yeah.
And the referee had enough.
So Bobby Collins was playing for Leeds?
He played for Leeds, and Tony Kay, our tough guy, wasn't playing, but we had a few others who could look after themselves. Leeds had a team who could look after themselves. It was one foul after another.
Yeah.
You put 2 passes together and there was a foul. Yeah. A nasty foul. I mean, a sinister, nasty foul. The referee just lost control of the game. And he took them off, and they were like naughty schoolboys, you know. It was the embarrassment of them all having been told off. You've all been told off, you go on.
It was first half as well, wasn't it?
It was
took them off in the
minutes.
first half, yeah.
And they were off for about 10 minutes, and we didn't know what was going to happen. The game was going to be abandoned. Should have been.
Yeah.
And they brought them back on, and it just carried on.
Bizarre.
It was just combative, and it was. These were 2 of the top teams in the league. Yeah, and it was.
Did we lose that game?
We lost 1-0. Willie Bell scored the goal.
Of course,
and they call it the Battle of Goodison.
Yeah,
and it really was. It was shameful.
Mad.
When you talk to the people who took part in it, I suppose if you're in a fight, if you're a warrior in a fight, you don't make friends on the football field. You're a warrior in a fight, and somebody kicks your mate. Yeah, you're expected to kick them back.
Absolutely,
and that's how it went. Yeah, so I guess it built teamwork, but it was an ugly.
You're saying it was a character building, like team building exercise kind of thing for the time,
and it was at the time the Everton crowd were incensed, and it was at the crowd when I mentioned hooliganism.
Yes,
and Everton had around that time, we developed this great skill of throwing darts at goalkeepers from a distance.
From a distance.
And it happened both at Gwladys Street and the Park End. Yeah. Where they throw darts at the goalkeeper. You know, the goalkeeper would stand around the penalty spot, got darts coming over. With some accuracy, because I guess these lads could play darts. So they got punished, and they decided the best way of doing this was put in the arcs that you hear about, that you may see in World Cup footage, in the perimeter wall, the white wall. So they put them on to keep the crowd away from the goalkeeper.
Is that what that was for?
And I've always thought about that how did they know that the radius of the arc? They must have had people there throwing darts to see how far they had to make how big they had to make the wall. But I also thought that darts were the wrong thing. I think there were weapons of mass destruction, like Sayers pies, and a half-eaten Sayers pies would have caused more damage than the darts. Because I remember going to the Leeds game, and the guy next to me, he threw his car keys. I mean, could you imagine at the Leeds goalkeeper, and he had to ask a photographer to go and get them back to him. Well, I mean, shows you how daft can you be throwing your car.
Things that football does to a person, though, isn't it? You know, you lose yourself, don't you?
Yeah,
that's amazing. But that's amazing, the story about the wall behind the goal. I didn't realise that's what it's. You know, you see so many photographs, famous photographs of that era of as you say, the World Cup as well,
which sets us up into that 65, 66. So it's Rubber Soul Revolver. The Beatles were probably pushing through the maturity. You know, pop music was definitely maturing, wasn't it? We got the Hollies, the Stones, the Who. England, the World Cup. Can you set up the tone for that? We won the FA Cup. Liverpool would go on to be crowned champions. Can you set that?
Yeah, I was in my life. I was at Tech College back then. The gas board sent me to Tech College in Birkenhead, St Helens, and Riversdale and Aigburth. But also, I'd become a real mod now. I'd been, you know, as I said, my dad used to say, "You daft lad," you know. He was. Have you seen yourself in the mirror? You know, and he wasn't very forgiving at this. But then as I said, they believed in freedom, and they let me go to go all nighters. So we'd go to Manchester with my mates, and we'd go to the Twisted Wheel Club in Manchester. And whilst you talk about all those groups, mod groups, we would dance to Tamla Motown music. It was just coming in then, become very popular. But you know. American music had lost out. You know, Elvis had faded away. The Beatles had come in. The British invasion, you know, as you mentioned before, had come in. But now the Americans were sneaking back with the Four Tops, the Temptations, and the likes. So that was the music that we were listening to. But we were all dressed as mods with daft haircuts and the likes. Personally, I was still an apprentice and money was tight, so I couldn't afford a season ticket. So I didn't go to that many games, unfortunately. But I saved money, and that's when I bought my tickets for the World Cup, the package of 10 tickets for the World Cup, which I think we may have talked about previously.
Yeah, I've been looking up to hold those things. They're amazing.
It was a great investment, you know, because when you look back now, it was a great time, you know, and Goodison was at this magnificent stadium, the best outside of Wembley, or maybe even better than Wembley. You know, it had these massive pylons with the floodlights on. And it was, you know, it still is a magnificent stadium, but then it had all four sides had the crisscrosses, the leech architecture. It was magnificent.
And seeing Pele on Goodison Road, that whole era for me is so iconic for Goodison Park and Everton, isn't it?
It is. And Eusebio.
Yeah.
And there was a player that people don't talk about. Everton adopted Hungary as their team.
Right.
And they had a player called Florian Albert, no doubt.
Albert.
And he became Footballer of the Year.
Yeah.
I think Everton tried to sign him. Yeah. He became Footballer of the Year. And if you look on YouTube, Hungary score a goal that is unbelievable. That they play the ball out to Albert, who puts the ball out to a guy called Bene, who's on the wing. And he clips this ball into the penalty area. And there's a guy called Verkas, I think it is. And he's sprinted from the halfway line. He doesn't break stride. And he hits this ball into the goal.
Gwladys Street end.
Gwladys Street erupted. Seriously, I mean, it's like a Goodison god had come. You know, we'd been blessed to see such a thing. That was just magnificent.
That Brazil team featured the likes of Garrincha and Jairzinho, But there was some hope for the Hungarians as the mighty Pelé was out injured. It's been remembered as one of the great FIFA World Cup games.
It goes without saying that I remember this game with a great deal of pleasure. I remember what happened in Liverpool back in 1966 so clearly. And I can replay the whole match in my head, even at my age. We knew we had to fight to the death, so that our hopes and dreams of making it further wouldn't be ruined.
In just the second minute, Ferenc Bene opened the scoring with a stunning solo goal.
Now every fan, Hungarian or not, knew that Ferenc Bene was comfortable with both feet and had a cool head as well. I think the first goal was a perfect example of this, as he passed 2 or 3 defenders before calmly scoring with his left foot. It wasn't a bad start.
However, after a quarter of an hour, Tostão equalised. Albert was number 9, the centre around which Hungary revolved, and he started causing huge problems for the opposition. Soon Brazil cracked, Albert setting in motion the move from which Farkas scored a wonderful second. And with Brazil on the ropes, Albert was able to fly free. With less than 20 minutes left, he supplied Bene once more. A penalty, setting the seal on an historic Hungarian win.
I'm most proud of the fact that, in addition to winning, of course, we were also able to put on a great show for the English football fans. And by we, I mean both teams, because the stadium was completely full for this match.
It's one of the best. I mean, Everton have scored some great goals and conceded some great goals at Goodison.
Yeah.
But that, in my mind, was... it may not be as good as... You know, when you get older, you forget things and you remember things that never happened as well.
Yeah.
But I can still picture him scoring that goal and the crowd's reaction to it.
What a decade, we're only halfway through.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
absolutely. It's incredible, isn't it? So a few players that came in 65, 66. Joe Royle, I believe, was one of them. Some of the big names.
The focus now had been on youth development. The checkbook had gone. He'd spent his money. He'd now had this tremendous scouting network, John Moore's, and he'd planned on developing youngsters at Belfield. He combed the country to get the best.
Yeah.
You know, English schoolboy internationals and the likes. And the only transfer that they spent, I think it was 20-odd thousand, was on Mike Trebelko.
Right, of course, yeah.
They bought Mike in. He was the first, what we call mixed race player that we had. It was a fleeting career. He'd only played 7 times before the cup final. You know, didn't score many goals except for the 2 he scored in the cup final. But the focus was on homegrown players, and there were some characters that came in. Joe Royle, you know, Joe was 16. Yeah. Can you imagine a 16-year-old centre forward playing against, you know, Virgil van Dijk and the likes. You know, he's big Joe. He was 16. He was powerful, deceptively skillful. Joe. I mean, people just remember him now as a manager, but he was a great footballer. Unfortunately, he had lower back problem that slowed him down.
But when you mentioned, you know, a 16-year-old player coming in like that, I remember when, you know, famously Wayne Rooney coming through for us, and you know, this centre forward, strong, skillful player. Obviously, we all know what a career he's gone on to have. But I remember at the time, you know, the older generation saying, "Do you remember Joe Royle? You know, having a youngster like this." So yeah, I remember the references being made then.
Joe's was I'll mention his debut a little bit later, but his partner and his very good friend, who was, we talk about who's the best Everton player who never played for England. Howard Kendall.
Kendall, of course, yeah.
It's not. It's either Roger Kenyon. Roger got changed about 3 times as substitute, warming up, and he never got on the pitch.
Really?
How close and how cruel could you do to that? It was a great footballer, Roger.
Yeah.
And John Hurst.
John Hurst, I was just going to say that.
John was, if it hadn't been for Bobby Moore, of course, you're not going to drop Bobby Moore.
Yeah.
He was a tremendous footballer, elegant footballer. I'm just looking here at my nose. I'd say he was unruffled, ice cool. What we would say, great partner for Brian LeBone in the centre of defence. We'd gone to a 4-2-4, 4-3-3, so we had two centre halves. He was LeBone's partner back then. Never had an average game. If he had an average game, I don't remember. He was always good, consistently good.
Yeah, I was honoured to put a tribute video together for John Hurst a couple of years. Well, it was last year, wasn't it? And when he passed away, and doing the research then and looking back through stuff, the video clips, but mostly what people were saying about him. About what a fantastic man. Everything you've just said and more.
We talk about being humble and being classy, dignity. A rare thing nowadays, I think, not just in football, but in life. It's not very often you meet someone, you say, wow, what a special person. That was Joe Royal and John Hurst. They were great friends.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about a couple of games, if I may.
Please do, yeah, absolutely.
We're now in 65, and this is a John Hurst story. John makes his debut. We go to Stoke, the old Victoria ground in Stoke. We're drawing 1-1. John comes on the last couple of minutes. He's a substitute for Fred Pickering. It was our first ever substitute. We get a corner. I think it was John Morris. He swings in the corner. Up rises John Hurst. Heads in the back of the net. And we used to take like 20,000 to places like Stoke. It'd be like one end of the ground was all Evertonians, 15 to 20,000. This place erupts.
That's amazing.
It also erupted when they disallowed the goal. So there was this,
that was an anticlimax.
It's before the VAR, so we'd scored the goal, and now, we got this. During this kerfuffle, I'll call it, the chaos, I lost my shoe.
Oh dear.
So my mates who had travelled with me said, we'll wait with you. Of course they don't, and we'll wait till the crowd empties and 20,000 back in behind the goal at Stoke. And I'm there looking for my shoe. Now, in all honesty, who's going to take someone's shoe? So I'm sure it's going to be there, and I'm looking up and down for this shoe. And in the end, I give up. And it wasn't a special shoe. It was a black shoe with a bit of a pointy toe. So I go to a steward. A policeman first, and he said, I'll go and see the steward. I said, have you got any shoes? And he said, well, to be honest, we've got lost and found, but the groundsman has the key and we'll have to wait for him to come, so it takes some time. And the groundsman come, and he said to me, what size are you? And they said, we got none of them. He said, but if you want an umbrella or a pair of glasses, we've got loads of them. They kept all everyone's stuff. So I said, well, we've got some shoes, but how about a pair of Wellingtons? We'll loan you a pair of Wellingtons, the groundsman Wellingtons, but they were massive. These green big wellies. So all right, I'll do this. Here's a brown suede shoe, right? It was like what we used to call chucker boots in those days, desert wellies. Yeah. So he gives me one of them. So off I go back. Now when my mates have gone on the train, I have to hitchhike back. So I'm on the M6 near Kiel. And waiting and I'm looking down, feeling really sorry for myself. We thought we'd won. The goal's disallowed. I've lost my shoe. I've gone through all this. My mates have deserted me, and I'm looking down at myself and I'm thinking, oh, where's my life going? I looked at it. I've got one black shoe and I've got one brown shoe. But the worst thing is they were both for the right foot.
Oh my gosh.
Better than two left feet, I suppose.
I suppose so.
Oh, look at you now.
So later that season, if you remember, Goodison used to host international games. England games. And we played Poland at Goodison. And what I remember about it was that England had a little red-haired fella playing for them, Alan Ball. Yeah, he had a smashing game, and he was obviously on the books of Blackpool at the time. It was a friendly game, but he stood out. He was just tireless play. Following on from that same month, we went to Blackpool. Normally Everton played Blackpool in November when the illuminations are on. But this season it was in January, and we went to Blackpool, and this was the incident where Harry Catterick, in his wisdom, had dropped Alex Young and gave Joe Royle his debut at 16. We got beat. And the story is that the manager got attacked. Nice. I don't know if that's true or not, but he finished up on the ground. I don't know if he stumbled or whatever. It seems to be unclear. Yeah. But he was surrounded by fans, Everton fans, and he finished up on the floor. Wow. And the players, he was the last one to get onto the bus, and the players were like in shock. Yeah. You know, they sure. I don't think many volunteered to go out and pull him on, but it was a stain on the reputation of the fans and on the club.
My dad was at that game. I think he said that they were trying to convince Bawley to come. I feel like that might have been the thing, you know.
That was, yeah. I'd heard that, yeah. Yeah. That's funny that your dad said the same.
Yeah, because he was so good, you know.
Yeah.
And of course, this was the season of the famous 3-2 cup final comeback against Sheffield.
Yeah,
Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah,
glittering silverware. Exactly. I went to the game. I didn't have a ticket. I'd spent my money on a ticket to see Bob Dylan at the Liverpool Empire. And I did that before the semi-final, so I didn't know that it was on the same day as the Wembley final.
On the same day? Gosh.
So I had to swap my ticket, and I went to the one in Manchester, the famous one in Manchester, where the guy said...
Oh, Judas. Yeah.
The Judas cry in a northern voice. So I hitchhiked down to Wembley, bought a ticket for an apprentice salary's wage, was depressed at 2-0 down, was euphoric at 3-2. But what I remember most about that final is Jimmy Gabriel.
Not the goal, not Derek Temple's.
No. I could tell you word for word Derek's story of that, and Mike Trabucco's story of his 2 goals, well taken goals. Yeah. But it was the pride of Jimmy Gabriel in the last minute when he takes the ball up into the corner in his clumsy swashbuckling style, and he keeps the ball for about a minute. So they're nudging players out the way, he's got the ball on the line, and then when eventually the ball goes out for a throw-in, he had no front teeth. He turns around to the crowd and he goes...
Brilliant.
And that's how I remember that.
Celebrating waste in that time. Yeah. That's a fantastic memory, isn't it? Brilliant.
Looks now as if it's following the league championship to Merseyside. Scott. That's Gabriel. Again, you see Gabriel with his stockings rolled down. Gabriel, number 4. He's happy to play with it in that little area. He knows there can only be seconds to go. Did it.
I'll have to say thank you very much for joining us today, Dave. It's been a fantastic run of stories here for the first half of the 1960s. You'll have to join us again, and we can go through the rest of the decade where we move on. And I've no doubt you've got plenty more stories of the 60s.
Well, I hope they've not sounded like an old man and bored you with the tales. But you've got to remember the important thing is you pass these stories on, and you pass your own stories on to the next generation.
Of course, yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
So yeah, David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Don't have to thank me. Being the blue is my reward.
I was standing by the side of the road, rain falling on my shoes, heading out for the East Coast, Lord knows the pace on dues.